Hey guys, and welcome back to the studio. So I wanted to talk today a bit about saxophone technique, namely tone production, getting a more consistent and full sound out of the saxophone. Often I talk about post-processing, mixing, and microphone position and the music production sides of things, but by far the most important thing when it comes to getting a good saxophone sound is your own technique. So I wanted to dive into just a couple of concepts surrounding that today and a couple of exercises to help you practice that. Let's dive in. One of the most common things that I see with saxophone players is low notes that come out up the octave by accident and squeak and squawk, and high notes that play extremely sharp and thin. We can fix that with a couple of good guiding principles and some exercises to help us practice that. Now, the first of these concepts is our embouchure, more specifically this bottom lip and jaw, and how that is applying pressure to the reed. If you're pushing too hard onto the reed, you're actually going to dampen the vibrations of the reed. And that's going to make for a thinner and more stuffy sound, but it's also going to create some of these issues that we're talking about. So that's what we don't want to do. What we want to do is practice playing relaxed enough to allow the reed to vibrate, but firm enough to keep it under control. And the second guiding principle that we have here is our breathing. And this is really, really important. We want to rely upon the breath support rather than relying upon our mouth muscles. Often what happens is that because people aren't breathing deeply enough, using your diaphragm, filling your lungs up and relying on that breath, they tend to compensate by clenching onto the reed and pushing that reed down so that the sound comes out easier. Now, the sound may come out easier, but you're not going to get as good a sound, as full a tone as if you're playing a bit more relaxed with better air support. So let's talk about a couple of exercises we can use to practice this. The first one is what's called an air start or air attack. Many teachers use this. I still practice this, and it's where you actually play a long note, but you start the note with just air. So no sound, just a bit of air, making sure that you take a good breath and rely on that air, and slowly increase the airflow until a note sounds. Here's an example. So we're practicing both things here. Firstly, we're practicing making sure that we take a good breath before we play and that at all times we're relying upon that air support. And then secondly, we're making sure that our embouchure remains the same throughout the whole exercise. So you're not going to clench up at the start of the note and then relax as the note comes out. That's the most common thing that tends to happen, or vice versa. Now what you can do is pick a bunch of different notes. You can pick them at random. I like to go around the cycle of fourths or cycle of fifths and pick some notes that are up the octave, some that are down low. This exercise is particularly useful for those low notes if they are coming out up the octave. Okay, second exercise. This is going to be an octave exercise. We'll start on a G and we'll play the note as a long note for a couple of seconds and then add the octave key halfway through the note, ensuring that the note stays in tune. So a couple of things here. What you can do is, as you're playing that note down the octave, try and hear the note up the octave in your head before you play it. And that can help to aim for the right spot. Also keep in mind that we're trying to focus here on the embouchure and making sure that that doesn't change just because you press the octave key down. It might take a bit of practice to get used to it, especially if you've got other habits. But eventually it will help you to get really a consistent embouchure across different ranges in the horn. So if we start on a G, we can either do it on the G and then move up chromatically, G sharp, A, so on and so forth, or you could do it in step, G, A, B, C, so on and so forth. And then once you've done that, you can go down low as well, chromatically again, or in step of a scale. So there we go. Really quick, 2 principles, making sure that your embouchure is firm enough to keep control over the sound, but relaxed enough to allow the reed to vibrate. And secondly, making sure that you are relying upon your breath support, not your mouth muscles, to help the note to sound and to keep it stable. Practicing this stuff can be quite difficult because firstly, it's not the most fun thing to practice, and secondly, it can really challenge how you have been practicing for quite a long time. So it might feel a bit unsettling and you might lose a bit of control over your sound at first. But if you stay the course and keep practicing it regularly, I think you'll really enjoy the benefits of having a fuller and more consistent sound. These concepts can be applied across many different genres as well. So I really hope that that has been helpful. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, stay saxy.